Welcome into Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get to today's episode, a little message from my friend Katie Horner. Katie, take it away.
The event of the year for Christian business owners is just around the corner. Handprint Legacy Live 2021 is virtual this year, which makes it super easy to attend from anywhere in the world without makeup, long flights, or expensive hotel rooms. Thursday through Saturday, June 24 to 26, we'll spend 3 powerful days mapping out your first or next most important steps for your business. I'm Katie Horner. My husband and I have grown from full-time ministry in Mexico to full-time international business owners by understanding and solving the countless marketing challenges faced by Christian entrepreneurs. We created the Handprint Legacy Live event as a safe haven where small business owners, teachers, authors, and coaches strategize, implement, and grow their business. This event is highly interactive and tickets are limited. Grab yours today before we sell out, because 3 days of Bible-based fun and marketing instruction is going to leave you with your next marketing funnel all mapped out. Register now for the 2021 event at handprintlegacylive.com.
That's right. If you are interested in this amazing event, please, of course, check out our show notes now. There will be more details on that there. And without further ado, Lucas, take it away.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction. Change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in officially season 8. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, whoa, season 8, where have I been? That is a great question to ask yourself. Where have you been for the last 7 seasons? We have talked to some amazing guests. We're upwards of 100 plus episodes now, and I cannot wait to have you meet some more of my people that we're having come on this season. And so help me welcome in our latest guest, the latest shoes that we are going to try on today, and that is with my good friend, Jen. Now, Jen comes to us from some of our other good friends that we've had, right? We always have those good friends looking out for us. Well, this friend in particular looked out for us, Mark and Crystal Hansen. You might remember them back in December. We talked about this Ask book. Well, Jen comes to us from the Ask series. So, Jen, welcome from the Commonwealth of Virginia. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Neil, for having me on your show. I am so excited.
Well, we're excited to sit with you too, because you are in Virginia, right? The Commonwealth of Virginia, if I'm saying that correctly.
Thank you for getting that straight.
Yeah. It is the Commonwealth of Virginia. I've heard that. I have a friend actually out in the DC area, kind of probably near you. You guys are probably neighbors. She's a good friend of ours, Adria Wilkins, and she has this amazing podcast called The Joy Box Journal, and this is a great book that she wrote as well, and she has a podcast called Look Out for Joy. So she's right in your neighborhood. Maybe like we should connect you guys so you guys could like have coffee and then like have some selfies of each other and then send them to me to make me jealous because I'm not there. That would be not very nice, but
right.
Right. But that's fun. So, so I'm excited to sit with you today. I know you have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of just experience and life. And, you know, you've had some heartaches and some setbacks like we all have, but I'm excited really to hear this amazing stuck story that we've been kind of talking about and really leading our series off, our new season 8 off with this idea of being stuck and how we come unstuck. So excited to sit with you and hear about that today. But before we get to that, gotta of course ask you the most important question of all time. I know you've been on a number of shows, you've been a guest, you're hosting shows and all kinds of stuff, but I guarantee nobody's asked you this question.
Okay,
Are you ready for it?
Go.
The question is this. What style of shoes do you love to wear?
Do I love to wear? I would say Skechers sneakers. That is my favorite thing because they're so comfy. I used to, you know what, 2 or 3 years ago, you asked me, I would have told you high heels, but I don't like them anymore. I don't like them, and because I don't need to, except when I'm walking across the stage. That's it. But my favorite style is wearing Skechers sneakers.
I love
so
that. Now I heard
yeah.
from different people who have listened to the show who have said, Neil, you cannot ask a woman her shoe size. That is completely inappropriate. That is downright just awful. People of the South, you're in this category perhaps of Virginia's in that kind of southern, kind of north, but south, kind of weird dynamic.
It is so.
But they said, you can't ask people their shoe size. That is so inappropriate. And so my wife, 19 years now, almost 20 years come August, I said, babe, now I'm going to have to pay $1 to her for this story. But I said, babe, is it really inappropriate to ask a woman her shoe size? And she said, well, yeah. I said, I'm like, 60 episodes in and you're just now telling me this? She goes, well, I thought somebody would tell you eventually. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. So that's kind of a fun story on that. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. It is funny because it is something that women kind of look at, like if you have smaller feet, you're more petite. That's what we call it. You're smaller feet, you have more petite. But it's funny because I'm only 5'4". I'm just a little thing, but I have, a size 8 foot. I've always had a big foot, but I have these like gargantuan long arms too. And I have really, really long legs. They're longer than my husband's, who's 6'2". And I'm only 5'4". So I'm like a little nub sitting on a bunch of limbs. And I think that's why I have these
big
big
funny.
feet.
That's so funny. I love the Skechers thing.
They need to support me.
Talking about being from the Commonwealth, that Washington, D.C. area, that kind of, metropolis, if you will, of where government happens, where decisions, obviously take place. But if we were going to come out and hang out with you for a day in Virginia, where would we go together? You and I together, maybe my wife tags along to your husband, maybe we do a couples thing and we're kind of just hanging out together. What would we go and do and what would that day look like?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's funny. I live northwest of Washington, D.C., and so I'm outside. It's still considered Nova, which is Northern Virginia. However, I live way out in the country, and 65 miles northwest of DC is still commuting time here. People commute an additional 40 miles west of us. And so I actually live on 21 acres. I'm in the middle of beautiful hunt country. It's just like, it's all steeplechase and very, very old. I live in the wealthiest county in the United States of America. So if you came here, we might take you on a tractor ride around the neighborhood, so to speak. We might take you on a tractor ride, but most likely we'd take you over to one of the vineyards that are real close by, Bluemont Vineyard. And, we'd look at the beautiful view that we have that is hilarious because I'm from Colorado. And Bluemont Vineyard has the highest altitude in Virginia of 987 feet, which is crazy coming from God's country in Colorado. But we would either take you there or we would take you down to Lake Anna on our boat that is called That's What She Said.
I love that. I love
and we'd
that.
spend the day on the boat.
That's what you do. I love that. So I started a while back asking that question of what we would go and do together. And I got some feedback on that. And someone was like, you know what? Why do you ask that question? Like that just seems so not relevant to your show. But to me,
I love it.
It breaks down more of the walls that people have, and I hope it shows that there's a personality to the guest. I mean, that's at least my thought process on that. The shoe question's fun because we got to know what shoes we're in, what we're walking in, right? Because I love that idea that we're in your shoes today. We're in these Skechers shoes, which I don't own a pair of Skechers. I mean, it's the one brand I don't get behind, that and New Balance shoes. Those are probably the two shoe brands that will come calling and say, listen, we want to sponsor you, but you're kind of a jerk to us, so we're not going to give you any shoe money. Just my thinking there. But no, I love that question from a standpoint because, again, we get to see you in maybe a more intimate setting. So that's awesome. So speaking of that, I know this about you. Yeah. That you've had this experience of life, much like probably some of us, maybe some different in some elements as well. But can you maybe share for us the greatest moment you had where you were stuck and you were like, man, I'm stuck in this moment. I know it. I feel it. Every essence of my body knows it. And then maybe the evolution of how you kind of came out of that. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, well, I wish it was one moment. I mean, there are many in my life. My entire life I've been told that I can't. And so I always feel that when I'm told I can't, that's probably being in a stuck position right there, and so it's an inside job and you have to figure out how to get out of it. But, I was in the mortgage business for about, I guess, 20 years or so. And I was really cranking that out and I was doing really, really well. But I was a mediocre. Well, I shouldn't say that. For me, I was a mediocre, right? But I was a top producer. But I wasn't happy. I was running amok. And, one day I went to dinner with my family, so-called dinner in air quotes, went to dinner with my family. And of course, the phone rang and I said, well, my client needs me. So let me go out and talk to my client. I was walking that concrete balance beam out, on the parking lot, right? Talking on the phone, going back and forth, waving to people as they came in, nodding, and I happened to look over into the restaurant and my family was in there laughing and having a great time and creating memories, but they weren't with me. And that was the moment. And, and it's funny because that wasn't the first time, it wasn't the last time, but it was the time, the pinnacle, the apex, that said, I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I felt stuck. I felt, that there's got to be more to life than just taking care of clients and putting my family, second. And my mom always had this great quote, which it still is now. We flatter those we scarcely know. We please the fleeting guests, but we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best. And I was the poster child for that. Absolutely the poster child. And I realized that that's not how I wanted the rest of my life to go. And when I made that change and when I worked on there's got to be a better way and got my core values in play, really focusing on what I wanted in life and then put everything else on the back burner. 3-4 years later, I was doing $100 million in volume and not 50 million in volume. And I was working 4 days a week and I was the happiest I'd ever been until now, because I'm even more happy now. So.
What a moment to really have that kind of split second, like, is this really the life I want? Is this really the path I want to walk down?
Yeah.
Because I think so many times in our lives, and help me with this one too, if you don't mind, so many times in our lives, right? We're on this path, we're on this, and we're making good money. Maybe we're doing what our passion is. And we almost have this wake up moment where the alarm's going off and we're like, this is not what I thought it would be. This is not at all what I thought it would be. Yeah.
Time to make the donuts, right? It's time to make the donut moment.
Right.
Yeah. It's, and it was coming. I mean, there was no question about it. And I think we all know that. I mean, even while we're working through, this COVID challenge that we're in, it was, in my opinion, God's way of saying, the world's running too fast. It's time to settle down. It's time to get back to family and, get back to where it should be. I mean, for some people, it's not even get back to, it's actually doing. Right. I was talking to my daughter and she said, she was telling us about, I don't know, something that we did. Let's just say I was going to say skateboarding, but I don't skateboard. So let's say we were shopping someplace. Okay. And she said to me, you don't remember doing that thing with me? And I go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, we did it. We went on that vacation. And I said, what vacation? And she said, remember when we went to blah, blah, blah? No. Was I there? Well, you and your computer were there, Mom. Right. I didn't even remember a vacation.
How did that's what I was just going to ask. So how did that feel?
Yeah, it was stabbing me in the heart. Stabbing me in the heart. And I thought, how many other memories and moments and things? And I just vowed that wasn't going to happen anymore. I was going to live in the moment. I was going to learn what I wanted to do and make sure that what I wanted to do, I was and this is what I say all the time is, I wanted to be as good to myself as I was to my business. Because that's what we tend to do as entrepreneurs is we're so good to our business that we're not good to ourselves. And that's why we can't find happiness. And I turned the tables on that and was blessed tenfold.
So you mentioned your daughter. How many other kids do you have?
I just have two. I have a 35-year-old and a 33-year-old. I don't know. There's 34, 33, something like that. I have three. I do know I have 3 grandkids.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
The older they get, the more I don't care about their age.
It gets a little harder. Plus that dates you and all this other nonsense that maybe come with that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. So the reason why I ask you this, because in hearing that, you mentioned clearly, hey, I have 2 kids, got the grandkids, got this. I'm wondering, because I've heard this said from other entrepreneurs, which by the way is a fun word, but a hard word for me always to say. So I'm proud of myself for kind of saying it correctly. Entrepreneur. Yeah. It's a tough word, but I'm wondering on this because I've heard other entrepreneurs say, hey, my business became like a child.
Yeah.
It needed to be fed. It needed to be nurtured. It needed to be, grow. I needed to dump in time to it, whatever it may be. So with that, if we're taking that premise and believing it, right, that entrepreneur and the business is a child, which one is your favorite child, if I may ask?
My family. My family is my favorite child. But, I think it's a learned thing. And, that's my life's mission now, is really helping people, get past that. And, I wouldn't say that's my life. Really, my life's mission is making sure that people they can live their legacy while they're building it, right? And that they can move beyond my whole life. I've been told I can't, you can't do that. So tell me you can't, tell me I can't, and I'm going to show you how I can. Right. And so the way I like to explain this whole concept is a wheel of a tire. The center of the wheel is the steel, and then the tire is the outside. And so many of us focus on the wheel as being our business, and that's the steel. And so what happens to our tire is it starts wearing out, and it wears down, and it has holes in it. And that's our lives. And that's what we're experiencing now in this world, is so many lives are falling apart and they're not being taken care of. So I just want to invert that and make the core, the steel, be your life and what you want in your life first. And then take care of the needs of this business. It's not an either or, which is why I don't like balance. It's definitely not an either or. It's just taking care of one first so it's strong and healthy and steady. And then you'll have the opportunity to be able to take care of the other. And I'll tell you, when you do it that way, it works. It just works. And it's not about working long hours. It's about working in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're eating soup with a fork every day.
I think that's a powerful statement, not eating soup with a fork every day, because I know, growing up, both my parents worked. My mom was in childcare development and, watching other people's kids so they could go do what they do. Right. And, I was always surrounded in a daycare setting of some sort, whether it be when I was a kid or even, as a teenager, I was helping out at the daycare, from time to time. And, my dad was a former Marine. And so, who knows what country he's in and what time zone he's in. And that's noble work, right? Mm-hmm. Both of them have very noble jobs. But in that, and I love my parents dearly, as I make this statement, love them dearly. But one thing that I did not like as a child and I did not understand is I never saw them. They never, I felt like, really gave the emotional, they never filled my emotional tank, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I wanted them to. Do you think your kids have ever struggled with that, or maybe even shared that with you, that like, man, Mom, we love you and you were a great provider and you showed us how to work and you showed us how to not give up and you say no and we're going to find the yes, all of that. But you're a very driven person. I know that. I don't know that personally know that about you, but I'm assuming that's true of you. And so I'm wondering, do you think they ever struggled with that?
Oh, yeah, no, I totally think they did. The one thing that we have to also remember is that, right now in the workforce, we have 5 generations working together. We've never had that before. And each one of the generations comes with its own, outlook on things, its own drive that, and my generation, I'm on the cusp. I'm a low end baby boomer, high end Gen Xer. And that entire place was climbing the corporate ladder and getting, having all the McMansions and all the stuff, that was that generation. So when I think about, even listening to you talk about your parents, they're just a product of what that generation, brought in. So it isn't an individual thing. So of course my kids had that. I can't tell you how many times they say, off the phone, Mom, off the phone. Or I was walking the chain link fence while my son was playing baseball and I would cover up my phone and go, good one, honey. Yeah. Right. I just didn't have my priorities straight. And I feel that if you can master your priorities, you're going to be able to master your life. So it's a matter of having enough time to sit down and think, well, what are my priorities? What are they truly? And that's why I said core values, because I think that when it gets down to it, when you have a life of values, everything else in your life has values, right? A life of values. And so I started going down that path and just saying, okay, what do I value? And of course, what do you think we do? We all say, well, not all, but I said faith. Okay, my faith is valued. Am I going to church? Am I working? Am I being a Christian every day? Am I giving? Am I giving back? Am I volunteering? Am I doing things? And okay, check. Got that one down. I'm doing that. Although it was very harried, right? Come on, let's go. Right. So it was very harried. And then the second one was family. But then and I talk to my clients and I say, what are some of your core values? And people go, family? Like it's a question, and I go, well, if you don't know if it is, if you don't have core, conviction, then you can't put boundaries around it to save it. But the other part is, if it is family, then why are you working till 11 o'clock at night? Why are you working every single day? Why are you on the phone and, when they're on vacation? Why are you in the hotel room while they're whatever? And so when it goes down to these core values and we can identify them and then create boundaries to protect them and be disciplined enough in mastering our priorities so that we say no to people so that we can say yes to our lives. So in the later part of it, it's much better. Absolutely much better. I'm 100% present. So there's both sides. I grew out of it.
I love that. I love that a lot. And I love the idea of learning to set priorities and learning to say no and learning the value of the yes, and saying yes to the right things, even some would say. But, being a person of faith as I am and having a little bit of a Bible background and studied the Bible pretty thoroughly through the years, as you're talking and you're saying that, I know this about you too. You were a very good producer when it came to home loans and, writing loans and all of that. And I know just from previous shows that you've been on that I listened to that you didn't grow up with a lot of money. In fact, there's a little thing that your uncle would kind of tease you about, and we'll give you a chance to respond to that because I know that, but I want you to share that because it's your story, not mine. But in that, I hear this great success. I hear a lot of wealth being gained by you. And rightfully so. You earned it. You worked hard. There's reasons maybe behind that, methodology behind that. I guess I'm saying all that to build up to this question to ask you this. I've heard it said, and I think the Bible even says it, that you can't serve two masters.
Yep.
You cannot serve God and you can't serve money. Right. So did any of that come into play for you when you started kind of recognizing that, well, my family may be suffering over here, but my checking account's definitely not suffering. Did that ever come into play? And what's the juxtaposition on that, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I think when I'm thinking about my my prayer time, right? When I'm praying and when I'm hearing, I'm Catholic, so when I'm at church, there's some things that we have a lot of set prayers that we say as well as free flowing prayer, but they would always say something and I would think, oh my gosh, I'm not, please God, please guide me not to serve chasing the almighty dollar. Please not let me do that, because it really wasn't about the money. It never has been. It's always been about having to prove myself to other people. And when I decided that I was done proving and I wanted to start living, that's when things changed for me.
Yeah, I love that a lot. And again, going back to the proving it to people, I would imagine, just knowing, again, personalities, people I've interacted with through the years, trying to prove it to people comes almost into play as people pleasing. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right?
So,
well, and that's
asking for a friend. Maybe somebody I don't know. Let's just pick a name randomly out of the sky. Zach, maybe we'll call him Zach. He's a guy. He's a cool guy. We're friends on Facebook. We always DM each other. Well. I know him really well. My friend Zach. We're on a DM relationship on the gram. Yeah. But my friend Zach wanted me to ask you this because he knew we were going to be sitting with you today, and he said, "Listen, Neil, how does someone get out of the stuck moment of people pleasing?" How does Jen do that? Like, because Jen's obviously gotten to that mountaintop maybe where she's not people pleasing anymore. How did Jen do that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm still people pleasing. For me, I'm most likely never going to lose that because my nature is to be friendly anyway. So I know people that have gotten out of people pleasing and have turned really bad, but it's not in my nature. I mean, it's just not in my nature to be that way, but I'm less cognizant of what I say, what I do, what I wear, how I look. I'm less cognizant of that type of thing now. And I think some of this comes with maturity. I mean, it just does as you get older, and you have different priorities in your life. But, when I look back on that, I mean, if you've ever watched my cousin Vinny, right? And she said, she's screaming, my biological clock is ticking. I just think that I got to that point where there's being stuck and being in a rut and not knowing you're there. There's being in there and trying to figure out how to get out of it. I think you have to get to a breaking point where the pain, right, of being in it is so much more than the pain of getting out of it. And for me, I just had I was exhausted, honestly, Neil. I was just exhausted I was on all the time, always on, right? Always on, always overdoing, over giving, over committing, over everything. And I was just tired. I was just honestly tired. And it wasn't just enough to my psyche to know and my intellect to know that it was wrong, that I was focusing on the wrong things. I knew that all my life. I knew that for years and years and years, that I was chasing to prove to people. But it wasn't until it hit my heart that it changed. So it's not a conscious decision to get unstuck. It's an emotional decision, a decision again, where I'm looking and trying to shine a light on the core values of my life and saying those things that are core to me, I'm not living. And that's what I would say to your listeners is, if family is your core value, then are you living with your family being number one or number two, whatever your core values are. But I mean, for me, it was an emotional disruptor. It was an emotional disruptor. I remember walking back and forth. I remember holding the phone. I remember seeing them in there and everything. And I literally looked and I went and I started crying, and I get emotional talking to them. So, that was the point where I feel I was touched by an angel and said, that's enough. It's just enough. And I was done. I was absolutely done. And I had challenges and struggles digging myself out of that, right? I would get back into it, but I was so much more aware and my antennas were up for it. So I was able to discover it quicker and have a trigger to take me out of it. And so it really is the exact moment that it emotionally takes you to the point where you said, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. I can't do this. Whatever it is, drinking, eating, whatever it is, working too hard, whatever it is, it's like, I'm over it. I can't do it. But I think we all have to get to that point. It's not something that someone can pull you to. They can increase your awareness, but they can't pull you to make that decision. We know this with alcoholism, right? You can't make someone go there. You can't. They have to have a breaking point. And that was my breaking point. And I'd always been told, you can't do it. Tell me I can't. Tell me I can't, and I'll show you I can. And so this was a different type of drive than it was to chase an almighty dollar. I didn't expect my business to double. I expected my business to stay the same or probably get worse, but I just wanted to be released. I didn't care about the revenue. I cared about being released. And that was more of a priority for me.
First off, sorry we got you emotional.
Okay. I can talk about that sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes I get them. I don't know what triggers.
All right. Yeah. Well, I first off, I want to say thank you. I've heard it also said through the years that if somebody shares their tears, that is a sign that they trust you and that they, that they're comfortable with you. So I always take it as a compliment. I know it sounds weird when somebody cries in front of me, that somebody's comfortable enough to do that. And so I'm glad we've created that space for you to be able to do that. So I just want to acknowledge that in you. But for me, I'm not trying to make it about me because it's not, these are your shoes, but
no, we're talking. We're just talking.
But for me, my senior year of high school, I ran track. It was my last meet of the season. I ran the 3,000, which, by the way, for those of you who have never been to a track meet, is the most boring event in in track history. My wife, again, there's another dollar. My wife has sat through many of races through my high school journey. We're high school sweethearts. And so we are too. That's awesome. Right. And so a couple of years ago, I went and saw my nephew. He was running track and he ran the 3,000. And I came home that night and I said to my wife, I said, I love you. And I hugged her so tight. I love you. And she's like, wow, what did I do? What did I, do to deserve this? And I said, you sat through so many meets of the 3,000 and I just love you because it's so boring. So anyway, that's a fun story, but a small story, but I know. I say all that to say, when I hear you saying those things, I'm trying to be your son in this moment. Not that you're old enough to be my mom, but I'm trying to be your son in that moment. I thought, man, what would it have meant to him to have you in those moments? What would it have meant to him to have your full presence, all 100% of Jen, not 5%, not 10%, not maybe 30, but all 100% of mom's love and affection? What do you think that would have meant to him? And I know you're speculating because, you don't know how he felt, but from a mom, what do you think that would have felt like?
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, thank God my husband was always there and that, so it wasn't that they were never, having that, but I was always the one who was doing that. And I'm just thankful that the relationship that we have now is so tight. And again, it's faith driven. Everything that we do is faith driven. It's all about team and kind of accountability and, family. And regardless of the fact that I was doing all that work, it was still about that. And I think the one thing, I know my daughter, she's more vocal. She's more vocal about things,
Most daughters are more vocal. I have one. They're pretty vocal.
Yeah. Well, she's my Italian and he's my German. So, we just, for him, I don't know that it would have made a difference for him as much as it made it for her, because, again, my husband was there, so I think they were fine with that. But I know it bothered them that I would say, just a minute. It's one of the words that I can't stand, even talking to my dog. My dog comes over and he's like, are you going to get off that chair and get off of that podcast? Right? And he said, I'm going, just a minute. And it's probably one of the things that they, I don't even hear them saying. They never say that. And so I think they learn not to do that. But I know that they're proud of me having discovered that it wasn't so much of a priority. Again, I was probably a product. Well, I know I was a product of my childhood, being called Jenny who ain't got a penny, but I was also a product of my generation. But I think that they're really, really proud that I came out of that and have grown and blossomed so much over the last 12 years or so. And I think that that's inspiring for them to see that parents can go. In fact, my son said that I've seen you go through some really bad ups and downs and all arounds. And, you are an inspiration for me, Mom. And he says it a lot.
I think that's every parent's dream, right? I mean, is that every parent's dream to hear that in their lifetime? I mean, I think it's something to strive for. For sure. So we've kind of been talking around about your core values. We've kind of like alluded to some, but what are your core values that are like, nothing is going to come in and impede on these. Nothing is ever going to come in and try to attack these and break these down. But what are your core values? What are they?
Yeah, they're, faith first, family, and stability. And those are the three that I primarily follow through, with stability, and then integrity and accountability. So I don't like people who don't follow through, right? I just feel like if you're going to put your word out there, do it. That's an accountability thing. I think the integrity piece of it, I found an error in an invoice the other day and I could have just gone along with it and said, woohoo, but I didn't. It's integrity. Everything I do is integrity. Stability is a stability of my time and a stability of finances. So I'm always measuring those two. And truly, so the whole phone a friend thing, I phone my values for decisions that I'm making in my life and in my business, and all of my businesses. And so if it's going to affect my faith, it's going to impede on something in my family, then I'm going to say no. Right. And I have just lived with that. And in fact, about a year and a half ago, I was asked to go speak in Bali. And I thought, oh my gosh, look at me, traveling the world. I'm going to Bali to speak. And it was a great opportunity, lots of money. And, but the timing wasn't right. The stability wasn't there. And my daughter was getting married and we had planned months in advance to go shopping for dresses, and it was going to happen during this time. And I could have called her and said, hey, can we move it? Because I've got this huge opportunity, but that would put me back in that same boat that I did before. And it wasn't just that. It was also so that was a family decision, a stability of time as well. But it also affected my faith at the time. Because I'm Catholic, I deliver communion to homebound, elderly people or whatever. And at that time, I had several hospice people that I was delivering communion to. And when you're on your deathbed, the last thing you want is to have just this constant roll of change of people and styles. And I really was starting to get to know them very deeply. And they wanted me there. They knew that I had an air about me that was calming. And I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to regret it later. And so I said no. And during the time where I should have been there, I ended up making twice as much money.
Wow. That's so good.
I gave it to God. I just said, God, take it away, because I don't know what to do. I'm going to let you guide me here. And he took care of me. Yeah.
I love those core values, and I love the fact that you've just made them, and you're like, listen, this is where I'm at, and nothing's gonna come in, things are gonna try to attack those pillars, and they're just going to stand firm in what they are. So that is so cool. So I want to give you an opportunity. This is a question I love to ask people as we kind of wrap up today. And that's this question. In your vicinity, there's this really cool stadium. They used to be really good back in the day, I think, but they're not so good anymore. I don't know if you're a sports fan or not, but there's this field near you called FedEx Field. Have you heard of this field maybe by chance? Yeah. Do you know the seating capacity of FedEx Field without Googling? Do you know it?
No, because I've only been there once. I would probably say it's 55,000 to maybe 65,000, something like that.
Something like that. So in 2004 until 2010, they were around 91,000. And as of 2015, there are 82,000 people. It's a lot of people. Just saying. A lot of people.
I was thinking it was smaller than Alabama, because I know Alabama's 93,000.
Yeah, Alabama's
because my daughter went there, and so did my money.
So did my money. All the way down to Tuscaloosa. Nick Saban got some of your money. Roll Tide. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. But anyway, imagine though, the microphone I'm talking into right now, somehow we created this event for you to come and speak, to be the keynote speaker. We got people from all walks of life, all life experiences that are there to get inspired, maybe, that are there to get unstuck, which is kind of the theme we're on, right? What are you going to say to these 82,000 people at the 50-yard line when I hand you this microphone?
It's time to live your legacy while you're building it. Don't wait. Why are you delaying your happiness? Get out of here now. Come on, get up. No, really, get up. Go. Right? It's stop messing around. I mean, it really is that, and I'm off the mic right now on that, but it's just life is too short, and you will get there. You'll climb that ladder. You'll get all the things that you want, but you got to get your priorities in check. And as soon as you can master them, you'll master your life. I say that all the time. And it really does change my clients' lives. They're changed. And I just got an email this morning, or a text this morning from someone who's saying, I just can't believe, a year ago, I had so much lack of faith in myself, and the fact that I'm here, and I'm so excited for what the future holds with you, Jen. And so, wow is what she said. Wow. And that's what I want to do, is make an impact on the hearts of people. That's what I want to impact on, the hearts of people, and leave that legacy.
I think that's important to remember, right? I do. I just think those that are really willing to leave that legacy, that mark for others to follow, is so special. And that's why I think I don't think I know. That's why I was excited to sit with you and talk with you today, because I knew that about you. I knew that was kind of your drive and your legacy and all that. So Jen, if people are hearing you right now and they're like, you know what? Sounds like she's talking about some coaching stuff. I could use some coach. We all could use a coach. We all need a good coach in our life. There's a great coach in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, but he doesn't do like personal coaching. He does basketball coaching. And I guess there's a coach in Alabama that's somewhat okay too, Nick Saban, whatever. But if somebody's hearing you right now and they're like, man, what she's saying really not only is resonating, but man, it is impacting my life. It's penetrating my heart. Sounds like she knows her stuff. How can people reach out to you and get to know you and maybe what you're all about?
Yeah, well, I'm very personal with people. So I don't want someone to go to a website and do all that kind of stuff. If you really, really want help, then just email me, right? Just email me at jen@jenduplessis.com. And I know you put it in the show notes. And I'll respond. I promise I'll respond. You can go to my website of the same name, jenduplessis.com, and submit your email from there if you want. But you can just come right to me. I really love helping people. I mean, I'm sure that you can see that and you can hear it. And I get back to people right away and find out, what can I do? And I'll be the first to tell you, I can't help you. I'm not interested in having, thousands and thousands of clients. I'm interested in really making an impact on people's lives. So that's probably the best way. And then, a couple weeks, probably another 8 weeks. So God only knows when this gets released, But so that takes us to what, March, April, May, like May-ish, June time. I'll be really my new TV show. It's a streaming TV show on JD3 TV. And you'll be able to see that. And it's called Tell Me I Can't, where I'm interviewing people who've been told that they can't and how they came out of that adversity, sort of the unstuck, right? Because I've had so many of those in my life, and I want to explore that with everybody. So that's coming up. And that's it. We're working on a book. I was on the phone with my ghostwriter today. We're doing a fiction book. So I don't want to be writing that one, but I'm really excited. And it'll be called the same thing, Tell Me I Can't. And a little story about someone who kind of lines with me. Not really me, but kind of me. And, I'm really excited.
Sounds like my friend Zach.
Yeah.
Sounds like my friend Zach, maybe. You and your friend and my friend Zach could maybe get together on that, maybe. No, I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that there are so many amazing stories out there. And that's really why I love podcasting, is there are so amazing stories out there that need to be told, that people need to hear, that they need to know that there's more than just the little engine that could. There is a little more than, just this idea that you don't have to stay where you are. You can go on to bigger and better things. And
you don't have to go alone. Yeah, you don't have to go alone.
And you don't have to go alone. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So I want to play a game with you, and I'm so embarrassed because in the packing and preparing for today, I forgot my world famous University of North Carolina cup. So I have a dice on my phone, so no cup today, but we've made other ways to make this work. So we play this game called Senseless. Now, Jen, I know your mom and all this other stuff, and probably some fitness background in your wheelhouse as well. You just strike me as somebody that has that.
Oh yeah. I'm a competitive ballroom.
There you go. Right,
she's
got her dancing shoes on. Right now we switch from the Skechers to the dancing shoes, but you do know we have 5 senses, right? You're fully aware of that.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. So we play this game at the end of our show, and it's called Senseless, and it's just kind of just a fun, way to end the show. And so I, again, don't have the dice, but we're going to pretend that I have one on my phone, because I do actually. So there we go. I'm going to roll on your behalf and see what we get. This is fun.
Well, there we go.
Done it virtually,
new thing.
And this is fun. So we got 5, which is our, which is this. Question 5 is this: what is your favorite thing to taste?
To taste? Chocolate. Chocolate.
Why chocolate, and what kind? Is there dark chocolate, milk chocolate, mint chocolate?
Yeah, I'm kind of a dark chocolate person. I don't like not too dark like it's coffee, because I don't drink coffee. I'm plant-based, so I don't drink that kind of stuff. But dark chocolate. I don't know. And it doesn't take me back or anything like that. I think it's an endorphin release for me. And so I like having a little sample of chocolate, because it's way out of my spectrum of what I eat on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a nice little treat for you when Jen's been good, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So last thought goes to you. What would you want someone to just take away from our time together today? And what would you hope that they would gather from you? Maybe just a summary of what we've talked about, and then I'll kind of come back with a thought.
Yeah. I would say, if there's an actionable item, because I'm all about stop talking, take action, and get results. The action would be to carve out some time to really think about what you really love. And this really, the spectrum goes all the way from the smile on a client's face all the way down to what I laugh about and talk about all the time is that you want to watch ants carry food because it gives you joy, so everything that you love to do, let's get more of it. But you need to take some time. You need to slow down so you can speed up instead of speeding up to slow down. And the sooner that you can carve out that time in the next, couple days, a long time and uninterrupted, go away someplace, get a hotel and sit in the hotel room, go to a park if you live in a wonderful place that you can do that at this time of year, and really, really dig deep on what makes you tick, what makes you so happy. And from that, you'll start developing your core values. And if you struggle with your core values, think about what you don't like. Do you like people who aren't honest? Okay, honesty is a core value, right? So get those core values and then start asking yourself, do I have boundaries set up around those core values to ensure that I'm getting the most out of life on my terms? And so this isn't a stingy thing. It's not a selfish thing. It's a required thing, right? So that's what I would tell everybody to do is take some action. Don't just listen to this and go, oh, that was nice. Go do something about it.
You heard it here first, folks. Yeah, absolutely. And Jen, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good time today. I always worry about that when people leave. Was it a good time for you? Do you feel like?
Oh, yeah. No, it was really fun. It was really fun. Thank you so much. It was really good. And you and I talked about it in the green room. It's always fun when we have someone, both the host and the guest is, interactive and involved. And that makes it more fun and it continues to go and the time flies.
I love that you called it the green room. I think I might have to steal that from you, because I always say pre-show.
Yeah, the little green room. Because we're, or backstage.
I like green room though. I like green room. I'm gonna steal that. I'm taking that from you today. So
take it.
Absolutely. I'm taking that. So Jen, again, just want to say thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for what you're doing. I absolutely love the name of this podcast, and and I've loved listening to it too. I told you I listen to all the podcasts before I'm on them, and I really enjoyed listening to them. And you're just very vibrant, and I know that in your heart, this is what you're giving back. This is your passion project. So I hope people understand that when they hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. So just want to close with a little thought today, and that's this. Is if you ever thought about, just for a split second, close your eyes with me. If you're driving, don't do this maybe until you stop. But if you're folding laundry, set the towel down for a second. If you're on a run, maybe take a pause for a second. Give me just 2 seconds of your moment right now. I just want you to do something with me. Close your eyes and just imagine for a second you're in a cage. And no matter what you do, you shake the door, you shake the door, you shake the door to get out of that cage, and it's locked, and you know that you're never going to get out of that. I believe what you heard today, Jen has the key to get you out of that locked cage. Now, she would probably say this. She's not super special. She's just Jen. But she's got some great ideas and some great techniques and some great ways to help unlock that door for you. And I just want to ask yourself that question is, are you tired of being in the cage yet? Are you really tired of seeing everyone else have this amazing life and you're locked inside? Because if you are, my friend Jen today wants to help with that. Not only does she want to help with that, I want to help with that too. So if you want to do that, reach out to me, opspodcast.com, hit that connections page, drop me a little note and say, I'm stuck. I need help getting out. Help me find some of your friends, Neil, that can help me get unstuck. And if you don't want to write something down, which I get it. People, some days they just are like, I'm tired of writing. I write all day long. Get it. Totally understand that. Do me a favor, drop me a little voicemail. Again, opspodcast.com, click on that voicemail link. Leave me a little voicemail. I would love to hear what you think about that stuck moment and how you're getting out of that. And I just want to remind you this as we wrap up today. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes.